Economic Development 101 part. It says back to basics on the basics bit, basically. Yes, so I'm going to go through definitions of economic development. What I did was Google all around the place to find out what other areas that they use as their definition for economic development. And the EDA definition, which I thought was a good starting point, it's actually a World Bank definition, and Loudonshire Council, or Loudonshire Council in Victoria, I don't know where it is, used the same one. But what I found with the definitions, it's quite enlightening, is for a lot of them it's about, they call economic development actually the process, whereas the outcomes are around economic growth. So it's more of a process about building capacity. Montrose, this is random, Montrose Economic Development Corporation, they're very focused on the outcomes being investment attraction, business creation and retention and expansion and recruitment of primary jobs. When they say primary jobs, they're jobs in industries which are actually export industries. They actually export out of the region. They're not. The secondary jobs are the services sector, which backs up is an outcome of that other growth. Planning Institute of Australia is quite a large, big definition around economic development. And once again, it's about process. It's defined as a process, and ultimately it's about collaboration between the various agencies, the private sector, state governments, federal governments, local government, and community generally. So there's very much a collaborative theme in economic is part of the definition of economic development. The City of Perth, rather vague actually. I'm just saying when you look at that, it's a bit of a motherhood statement, I suppose. But once again, it's about the overall outcome is looking at the quality of living in your community. So it's about a stronger city, cultural links, social links, etc. Gold Coast City Council, once again, it's about prioritising those economic opportunities, and they focus back in on the tools, which is about business and investor confidence, employment diversification. So a bit of a different take on what economic development is, but once again, it's hinged around employment and growth. This is a Wisconsin Economic Development Agency's definition. Actually, I do like this one. It defines the elements of economic development. But what it also does is connect with community development, which, in my view, economic development at the local level is very much around community development. And in between that, where they cross over, there's commonality. It's around the data analysis, for example, the entrepreneurship, negotiations, all that sort of thing. So I think any economic development strategy that combines with community development, I think starts to capture pretty much what local economic development's about. South Australian Centre for Economic Studies, it's pretty neutral. It talks about process, but it's pretty neutral as to what that. But that could actually mean the change over time could be negative change, could be a positive change, could be no change whatsoever. And to me, that sort of talks about an academic approach, which looks at, regardless of what the outcomes are, you start to find out the process behind how those outcomes were achieved or not achieved. The Economic Development Model Guidelines, which the LGA produced, and Ed was actually an author of that, or part of it. SCD Advisory is a Victorian-based company, Warrnambool. This one's a good one. It's economic development is a process. It's the policy and the strategy that sits behind it. And it starts to distinguish between economic development and economic growth. So economic development is the process, and economic growth as the outcomes, as we measure productivity, employment, and general economic growth. So with those definitions in mind, my summary is that, and it's quite enlightening going through different approaches, it is more about the process when we talk economic development, but all heads towards those outcomes of growth and employment and productivity.